I want winners. I want people that want to win.
You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it.
You got to put your money where your mouth is, Pete.
It's not gambling advice. Wednesday, May 25th. Welcome to Not Gambling Advice. I'm Peter Apple, and I am welcoming Book It with Trent Attyah from BookitWithSports. This has been a long time coming. Going to talk to him about a bunch of different things, some gambling stories, some weird stories that involve not baseball or gambling at all, as well as the start of Book It with Sports. So, Trent, I'd like to ask you how you're doing, but you and I, we're based off on how our units are doing. So how are your units doing?
That's exactly right, brother. It's always a roller coaster in this game. You know, one day we're feeling high on top of the world. The next day, shit's just caked. Units are good right now. Honestly, not going to lie. Been getting back into straight bets. You know, I got a little over just losing parlays every day by one leg, and I need to make some profits. So straight bets have been hitting. Parlays still not hitting, but we're getting units.
I mean, Trent, I've been preaching this forever. You can't parlay. They're traps. You straight bet one unit a day, you put them on your picks and you track them. And then at the end of the day, you might be positive, you might not be, but you're definitely not going to be in the hole completely. So I want to take you all the way back. I want to take you all the way back before BookitSports, maybe when you were 11 years old, maybe you couldn't gamble legally, but when did gambling kind of come into your life? When did you think to yourself, wow, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life?
Well, I always knew I wanted to do something in sports, mainly broadcast. You know, even I remember doing a school project when I was literally 11 years old on Vince Scully. And it was like a career project. We had to do what we wanted to be when we grew up. And that was a broadcaster in baseball. But as I got older, of course, you know, technology and the way we consume media started to evolve. So I got really into social media, Twitter, being a content creator, TikTok, of course. And when I was a freshman at TCU, my roommate was a degenerate gambler, and he's the one I really owe the credit to get me involved in the space of betting. It's when I first placed my first bet. I was a freshman in my dorm room, and we were sweating out March Madness, and I just saw all my friends around me have money on the game and how much more fun it was for them to be watching this game with action on the line. So that was really when I was first introduced to sports betting, was my freshman year in college. And I just saw an opportunity that this space was going to change everything for sports and sports fans, sports consumers, and the way we watch them and the way we interact with them through content. And I saw a huge opportunity, and I just jumped all over it.
And you did a phenomenal job. Trent's TikTok now is near 400,000 followers. He has a ton of other followers on a ton of different other platforms like Twitch, where they do a surgical stream, you know, on Instagram, on Twitter, especially too. You're nearing 100,000 followers. Congrats on that. This guy is blowing up like crazy, and it's awesome to see because he makes amazing content. But I want to take you to where your bet, which bet got you hooked, because I want to take you back. My freshman year, it's 2016. It was the 2016 World Series. It's Cubs Guardians, right? Or Cubs Indians at the time.
Yeah.
And I had Cubs money line in that final game 7. I'm like, this is the day they finally do it. And can you believe the back and forth, the Rajai Davis home run, all the different here and there? And then we ended up winning that bet at the end with Chris Bryant threw it over and the Cubs won the World Series.
Yeah.
What was the bet that got you hooked, or at least that first bet that you remember? Could be a loss, could be a win, because I've had plenty of losses, but that bet I remember so clearly, every inning, every bit of it.
Yeah, no, honestly, that same time of that World Series was around the same time I just started gambling in that dorm room. I still remember my diehard, or my friend, my roommate, who's a diehard Cubs fan, was so blacked out that night. It was electric. But my first bet that got me hooked. All right, there's this horrific bad beat that just comes to mind when I think about my early days offshore book, right? Throwing $25 9-team parlays. Okay.
One of them's going to hit.
And yeah. Recipe. I haven't done that since college, but I had a 9-legger for 25 to win $8K. And I was just getting involved with parlays, just learning what they were, had no idea that you could take more games and get paid more. So I had this 9-legger, right? And somehow, some way we got to 8 of 9 down. Last game of the night is Canucks money line, and they were up 5-1 in the third period. And we're out at the bars at this time. And I'm like, holy shit, boys, I'm about to literally hit the biggest bet of my life. I'm buying everyone drinks with my card and shit, like pre-celebrating. And then all of a sudden, notification 5-2, third period. I'm like, yeah, no way. That shit's
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry. 5-3, a couple minutes later, I'm like, wouldn't that be something? And there's 8 minutes left in the game. 5-4. I'm like, give me my fucking card. I literally take my card. I go outside. I'm pacing back and forth. And they're playing the Capitals. And I'm like, please do not let them take this shit to overtime. Like, holy shit. What do you know? Ovi rips a fucking goal, ties the game. We go to overtime. I knew that shit was caked, bro. We get to overtime. No goals, shootouts. You're not beating Ovi. You're not beating Oshie in a fucking shootout. And they lost in shootouts. And my heart was broken that day so badly, bro. But ever since then, I've just been like, I got to get back to that. I got to get back to how surgical I was. It roped me in. That's why I love parlays. I know you'd think I would hate them after that, but that I'll never forget that day ever.
That's incredible. That's an incredible story. So tell me, so fast forward a little bit, you're in college and you're making your bets, you're getting accumulated to parlays and losing, of course, just like we all are in college.
Yeah.
I'm curious, when did BookitSports happen? When did this idea come about?
Yeah, I knew I wanted to change the way that people did something in something I was passionate about, and that's sports, that's social media, and now betting, of course. But I was trying to figure out how can I bridge the gap here? How can I solve a problem for people in this brand new industry that's literally growing insanely fast? And so I just saw an opportunity for a brand in the space beyond Barstool to basically, be the centralized community for sports betting through content on a platform like Discord, to bring people together and have tools and resources to make educated and informed bets, like bringing people like yourself together with people who want to bet but don't really know the smart bets or the ways to go. That's why we listen to people like you to figure out what the bets are, right? There's people out there that are so willing to help and bring each other together without having to necessarily charge, $200 for a pick package.
Bullshit.
And that's the value. It's all of us against the sports books. And so
Yes.
I just saw a huge opportunity to build a brand that, resonates with people, that brings people together in efforts to beat the sports books. So it started when I was a junior, going into my senior year of college. The name Book It just came to my head one night and I stuck with it. The logo is the same logo I sketched on a napkin. It hasn't changed once. And it all just really stuck. And, of course, getting into the TikTok journey as well, that was not really in my intentions to go that route. I just started making TikToks because I was going through the pain that I felt like, other people could relate to, on a you have a no run first inning, there's a fucking nuke job in the first pitch of the game. Like that was really the video that kind of took me to the top, really, was that World Series, also fade God, losing all my bets and shit. Everyone loves, claiming me as that kind of fade God personality. But yeah, no, I mean, it's been a roller coaster of 2 years since we've started Book It, but I've enjoyed the ride ever since. And I'm excited for what's to come for sure.
Well, it's been an incredible ride. This guy, Trent, makes some of the best betting content, gambling content, whatever, on the internet. I want to unpack that NRFI because that's not what started this whole thing, because you're smart, you make great content, things would have already happened and you probably would have developed it without that. But that really was an incredible launching point. I remember, I think it was White Sox Yankees at the Field of Dreams game with all of those home runs. Of course, MLB put in the juice balls. Of course, we know that. Why didn't you know that? But it's hindsight's always 2020. But take me back, that NRFI, and then everything that ensued after, because that must have been, with all that attention that you were getting and then you were building it so quickly, that month or even 2 months after must have been nuts.
Oh, nuts. And like what people don't know is like, I was living at my parents' house, just making TikToks, trying to get out of the rent's house. Of course, no one wants to be there after you graduate. But I just wanted to do everything we could to get us out of the situation, get our own place, get sponsors, And so I felt like my back was against the wall to, get us out of this situation. And I just felt the pressure. I was like, dude, I gotta become somebody in the space immediately. If people want to know what this brand is, like, I got to do something crazy. I got to be consistent. I got to make people laugh, and I got to make people win money all at the same time. Right. Like, how do I do that? So I was just banging TikToks out and then I couldn't stop losing picks. Like, it's not that I was trying to lose. It just, the dumbest things would happen. And I just became this fade god that people love to take the opposite of. So that was picking up some heat. And then, of course, I swore that this NRFI in the World Series was going to be the freest 6 outs. And of course, Soler hits a ball I don't think has landed yet. That shit was so nuked, bro. And it was the perfect video. But like, you could tell I'm in my parents' house in the background, like, and I just got to get myself out of the situation. And so that video was really the start of like this like parade of 1 million view videos that I was able to do in a couple of weeks that ended up, getting us in front of some big eyeballs at sports books and other partnerships and deals. So it's been a crazy, journey so far, but would not trade anything for it.
I'm also very curious about the fade god title, right? Because a lot of bettors, we go into the space and you don't want to be that generally. No. Like even for me, I give my 3 picks out the day. I track my record. I make sure it's like, we're staying even. We're not getting crazy. We're not degenerates. We bet on these games 1 unit and we track, and we're going to be positive at the end of the year. That's my goal. And, I'll go on a big losing streak or something. And I'm almost tempted. It's like a lot of the losing videos do better on views, right? The more engagement, a lot more people making fun of you. So the more you win, sometimes your views can go down versus the more you lose, they can go up. So it's that balance of, do I want to be known as this kind of person, as a fade god? It's not a bad thing or a good thing. It's just what you want to be designated at. Did you feel yourself when this started happening, just kind of become that type of person? Or did you feel to yourself, wait, I don't want to be the fade god. I want to be a person who's giving out winners. Like, how does that feel for you?
Yeah, it's such an interesting it's such a great question because it's such an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
I hated it at first. I was just sick of it.
Before you answer, I want to, because you're not a bad gambler. You are not. You actually have good plays. Like, I'm not calling you that. I'm more calling the fact that now nobody knows you. They might see a pick from you and just be like, all right, I'm fading it. Like, do you like that?
Honestly, no. I would rather be known as someone that's going to make you coin and like, let's ride this bet together and make some money together instead of you taking the opposite side and then, one of us wins, right? But it got to a point where I was like, I got to just embrace it. I got to turn this into a positive because there's definitely something here. And I haven't seen anyone like this that, embraces it like that, like I do, being a fade god and all. It is a little annoying, but I embrace it. I don't really care. You can fade me. I do my best to try and weed out the losers, try and pick some winners. But I swear, dude, I'm cursed. I'm jinxed. So regardless, I can tweet some shit. It happened yesterday, actually. I said, Brubaker over strikeouts. We had over 4.5. He had 2 in the first inning. And I tweeted out like, oh, let me see those bet slips. Anyone climb the Brubaker ladder? Dude didn't have a strikeout literally until the 7th inning. And of course, he's not going more than 7. So they pulled his ass. And I was just like, bro, you can't make this shit up. As soon as I tweeted that, he didn't get a single strikeout. And it's classic. 6 innings of strikeoutless baseball after getting 2 in the first. Why? Because I tweeted, and that happens literally every day, bro. I feel like I'm cursed, but I embrace it. I have fun with it. I'm not really a jerk about it, or I don't get offended or anything about that. I would rather, hit something super surgical that wins a lot of people money. Like, that's what makes me feel good. But if I can make you money, fade my picks, I guess that's good too.
Yeah, I get. It's just, I've always found that so interesting because I think the way that you've bought into it has blown up your brand. And then everybody who knows you, watches your content, sees the daily picks, they know that it's not a classic fade. This guy's not an idiot just giving out random plays. Yep. So it's built your brand, or at least this is just my opinion. Tell me if I'm wrong. It has built your brand in the sense that everybody who's in the community who understands this game that you can't win every day respects you more. And then new people coming in the more they come in, the more they get it. But at their first, they're in it for the comedy. They're in it for the fade. So it's almost like a funnel of they come in and it's for the laughs, but then they're like, oh, wait, he's doing the surgical stream. He's really betting on these picks and he wins sometimes. Is that kind of how it feels?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're spot on. You know, that's a great description of it. It is kind of a funnel that, you know, kind of grab your attention, highlighting my losses, right? Like I made a video on Sunday when I was at the Circa Sportsbook, the pool. You know, I did have like a unit on the Giants, right? And they lost 10-1 that day. And I like made a joke about that being like a VIP premium, you know, because I knew that video was going to do better than if I would have told you, oh, I had the Twins, they won 6-3. No one gives a shit, but they want to see me lose my best play of the day by 9 runs, you know? So it is kind of a funnel. You're absolutely right about that. But then once you get to the weeds of what we actually do and what this community is about, you know, that we're actually throwing units, we're actually trying to get surgical. This isn't, you know, us trying to be funny and losing money purposely. So no, that was a great description of that.
Fantastic. So let's move on a little bit too, because I want to talk about Prize Picks for a little bit, because Prize Picks is the sponsor of Not Gambling Advice, and we have been putting together different prize picks every single day in order to try and beat the books. But the problem is I keep going 3-4 or 2-3, and it's almost daily. It's actually killing me because I don't love to play parlays, but I've found that there's a lot more value on Prize Picks. You know, with the NRFIs, they're all even. The strikeout props, a lot of those things tend to just be better lines than I'm going to find in another book. Yep. And the fact that it's so easy, the deposit, you know, if you use our link in the episode description, you'll get a full deposit match on Prize Picks. So when you're coming together to make a Prize Picks surgical in the morning, give us some tips, because I personally need some tips. And I want to ask them from you. People are like, don't ask him from Trent, but you know what? He's better than you think. I want to ask him from Trent. Give me some tips.
No, there's definitely some things to look out for on Prize Picks. There's times when you can certainly use Prize Picks to your advantage versus a sports book. But there's also times where you need to make sure you're getting the best value for your bet on Prize Picks versus a sports book. But most of the time, Prize Picks usually gives you favorable lines for the player. And one thing that I stress tremendously that I think is the recipe to success when trying to win on Prize Picks, go compare the lines with the sports books to what they are on Prize Picks, because sometimes you can like quite literally
read it.
Steal coin from Prize Picks. For example, the other day when the Leafs were still in the playoffs, Austin Matthews to record a goal was minus 250 on the books, and they had that prop on Prize Picks, which basically is even money. That right there is a steal, and that's where you could take advantage of these favorable odds. So going and matching, you know, does Syndergaard, what does Prize Picks have for Syndergaard strikeouts? Oh, 4.5. Let's go look at the book. Oh, it's 4.5 minus 150. That's exactly what you want when taking a Prize Picks pick. There's a couple like that for today as well. But that, for me, is my biggest thing. I think something that is often overhyped are these little charts on Prize Picks with the green, you know, last 5, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of people just sit there and scroll and look for the fully greened out guys. We call them the greened out goblins on Prize Picks. Those are not guaranteed. Nope. It's certainly not. Trust me. You would think it is, right? Luka Doncic over 1.5 steals. It's hitting the last 5. Should be free tonight, right? Until he gets 1. No. You really got to kind of look at those for sure. It's definitely something good to have as a background or a back reason why you're taking a play, but don't let those graphs be the sole reason why you take some plays, because them shits don't always hit. Trust me. I literally, when I first got on Prize Picks, that was my only method of picking the winners. But now I've just been learning so much from just being invested into it every day. What else do I look for? So yeah, comparing the odds, looking at the last 5s, of course, looking at matchups as well. That's very important. You know, shots on goal, who are they going up against, right? You know, over assists, who's on the floor for this guy to dish it out. There's a lot of factors. I really only stick to NHL, NBA, MLB, and of course NFL when that's on. But I've dabbled a little bit in PGA. It's been fun. But also esports is huge on Prize Picks. Apparently it's their second biggest like revenue driver, which shocks me considering, you know, a lot of us don't really pay attention to that shit, but low key, like it is huge. So I'm just starting to get into a little League of Legends and stuff like that. I know that's not really up much of people's alleys, but there's definitely some sharps on Twitter that like specialize in this shit. So I've been tailing them, and UFC as well. UFC, there's some really good guys on Twitter or in our community that just spoon feed us winners. And there's such favorable lines. So Prize Picks is a really great app. It's super aesthetically pleasing, really easy to use, have all the tools and resources and a bunch of lines available. So it's definitely a great platform, but those are what I look for, comparing the odds against other sports books being the biggest one.
From League of Legends to Michael Kopech strikeouts, you can get any line on Prize Picks. So if you want to use our code, use just baseball in the episode description. You'll find that code and you get a full deposit match on Prize Picks. Trent, something I'm also impressed with you and the entire Surgical Stream and the entire community is that you guys bet on every single sport. I mean, you were just talking about League of Legends in the esports. You're talking about NHL. I've seen a ton. NFL, of course, NBA, college basketball, college football, baseball. I don't tend to bet on basketball much. I don't tend to bet on anything that I don't feel like I have an edge in or that I know for sure. Because if I bet on something that I think or I like the narrative of it, more than often than not, it's going to lose. Yeah. So I like to do my research. And that's a part of the fun for me, is diving into the research. And I'm a baseball guy to my core, but I also love football too. And I'm happy. I'm confident that we were up last year in baseball, and then we were up in football, and now we're up currently in baseball. But if I started to venture and I started to do a bunch of college football bets, a bunch of college basketball bets, NBA, my record would not be good. It's just too hard. There's too many lines, too many edges. And that's what you do. You're betting on every single game. So that's why you also have to contextualize. This is harder than what it seems to be. The fact that you have to be on top of all of these different sports. In baseball, we're doing that's my main sport. And then we're going to switch over to football. Talk about, I guess, some of the hardest sports to gamble on and just some problems that ensue betting on all of these different types of sports. Like, what's the one sport that you feel like just kills you? Because the NBA destroys me.
Are we talking like bets or are we talking player props?
Give me some bets, because player props, it's just kind of like, it either hits or it doesn't, at least in the game lines, like the totals, like there's a bit more research, but with props, they're all hard everywhere, but you can find edges. But I'm more talking about like the money lines and spreads and the over-unders.
I would say the sharpest lines, I kid you not, have to be NFL, 100%. These odds makers in football are spot on. It's crazy with the totals, with the spreads.
Incredible.
It's actually insane. I see a lot of games, finishing by the hook, right? It's actually, to me, I think it's just the hardest to gamble on NFL because how sharp these are, the lines are, all these line movements, right? But I don't think, like me personally, I wouldn't say it's my worst sport to bet on, but I just think as a whole in general, I would say NFL is probably the sharpest, the most difficult. I think NBA is full of fluke shit. I think NBA is incredibly hard to bet on. And for me, I would probably have to say the NBA is the hardest for me, just because of some of these spreads, the fluke shit that happens at the end, these blown leads. It's a game of runs. So, no lead is safe in the NBA. I think actually I had Thunder plus 10 this year. They lost by 74 points, bro. Dude. Literally the worst bet I've ever placed in my life. The largest loss in the history of the NBA, I was on the other side of. So that's a good one. I think the easiest for me would be hockey and baseball will be right behind that. I'm just a big baseball guy like yourself. I think a lot of people would literally disagree so hard with that, saying baseball is the hardest because people think Yankees and Dodgers by 2 every day is going to be a moneymaker when it's not, right? You got to pick your spots. You got to know the matchups. You got to know the lineups. You got to know the pitcher splits. You got to know all that shit. It's so important with baseball. And people are going to learn this very quickly as we get into the dog days of summer of just baseball, that you really have to pick your spots here. So like even today, I'm the biggest Dodgers -1.5 better you'll find. But today I think Nationals win. And I told people that because, it's everyone's going to be on Dodgers and Yankees by 2 every day. I lost a parlay yesterday because -300 Yankees lost to the poverty Orioles. Doesn't make sense. But you shouldn't be laying that much juice in a baseball game. So I would say for me personally, NBA is probably the hardest. But as a whole, I would say NFL is probably the most difficult in general. My favorites though, hockey and baseball.
So let's talk some hockey and baseball, because hockey and baseball are the most prevalent right now. We're going to get into football later, but that's down the line. That's in September, hockey and baseball season. And you're so right about the dog days of summer. I mean, you're going to see there is going to be the flukiest of shit coming through in the months of June, July, and August. I went through it all last year, gave out 3 picks a day. We had some losing days. We had some winning days. It's hard. It's hard to get through this terrain. But I want to talk about the NHL and MLB specifically because the NHL playoffs are coming up. Well, the NHL playoffs are happening, but the Stanley Cup is coming up.
Yeah.
And the MLB is kind of getting into it. Tell me about any MLB futures you might have, and then give us, a little bit about the Stanley Cup. Because me personally, I don't follow hockey that much. So I'd love to hear kind of what your views are on this series moving forward. And maybe do you have a winner?
Yeah. So I'm a big Angels guy. These are little homer picks. Honestly, I'm not a huge futures bet guy, but I actually did lock in some futures for this MLB season. Of course, I took both Trout and Atani to win MVP. I don't know really how that's looking right now. Not great.
Trout's looking amazing.
Still a lot of game left to be played. But I actually had Angels win total over. I forget what the numbers are. I don't have the ticket in front of me. But I love the way that's looking already. This team was really undervalued going into this season. They've got, everyone healthy, ready to go. They've got Syndergaard, who's looked good this season so far. He had a horrific start in his last game, but still they've been doing well offensively. They've got some arms in the rotation that are starting to show up. That's always been their biggest problem. And so they're on pace to definitely go over their win total so far. They just need to clean it up a little bit. They just got swept by the Rangers. Don't like that. Hopefully we can return the favor and sweep them right now in this series at home. But I've got the Angels to win the World Series actually plus 3,000. I thought that was way too high for a team with this many studs in the lineup. Again, going back to that pitching, that's the only issue with this team. They can definitely hit. They just got to score some runs. So those are my futures. I got the World Series Angels. I got win total for the Angels. I got those 2 MVPs.
You're just hammering Trout. You're just following Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani. It's not a bad decision. At the beginning of the season, Angels were one of my top 5 teams to exceed their win total. I had the Angels, I had the Rockies, the Brewers, the Rays, and the Dodgers. All looking pretty good right now.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, that Rockies over 68.5 was actually criminal. Like that's just a broken line. And I was shouting to the heavens. I'm like, take the Rockies. They're at 68.5 for literally no reason. They're better than they were last year. And they won 73 games last year. That line was broken.
No, that division's scary as hell. Everyone's good in that division. Even the D-backs, bro. I don't even know what the number was for their win total, but I'm sure they're almost halfway there.
Literally.
Yeah.
So talk to me about the NHL, and then I have another story to wrap up. Not gambling, not baseball, not anything like that. More of the one-on-one story, but we'll get to that at the end. Talk to me about the NHL playoffs right now. Who do you think is going to take home the Stanley Cup?
Yeah, it's such an interesting playoffs, and that's honestly the NHL playoffs is greater than sign NBA playoffs right now because NBA is just horrible. I haven't even watched these 2 series going on because there's blowout every game. Why even tune in? Player props are cakes. The spreads don't matter. So as a gambler, these games are not entertaining to me. However, the NHL has been amazing this season. I think as a community, we got so many more people passionate about hockey who didn't give a shit about it before this season, just because of how electric it is to watch and sweat out when you have money on the line, taking overs, sweating out bangs. That's the best, just in the empty netters, of course, to hit your over is always electric. I was so high on the Maple Leafs all season long to win the Stanley Cup. They had everything they needed to make a run, and they are still so cursed by this first round. They cannot get out of it. They haven't gotten out of it since 2004, bro. It's pain. I had multiple units on them to win at the middle of the season. I kept deploying as the season kept going on, and they went 7 games with the Lightning, who are back-to-back champs. And of course, they lost in Game 7. Lightning just came into the Panthers series and swept them. Panthers were one of the heavy favorites to win the finals this year. So it goes to show the experience matters in this league. The Lightning, they literally just swept one of the best teams in the league. I don't know how they can be stopped. They've got all the experience. They're coming off back-to-back titles. Who else is in there? The Flames and Oilers, the 2 frauds, dude. I'm not trusting either of those Canadian teams to get it done. Canes, Rangers, not trusting them either. I'd probably have to say Tampa is going to win it for a 3rd year in a row, which is crazy.
Tampa Bay Lightning. You think they go for 3?
I think they do, dude. I don't think
Are they the favorites right now? What's the line?
You know what? I actually am going to look this up right now. It's definitely worth looking. I got it right here.
Maybe we might think about a live bet because, we don't talk a lot of hockey. We mostly talk baseball. We do some fantasy baseball as well. If we're going to give out winners, might as well give out the right one.
How can I forget? I forgot the biggest wagon that's left.
I forgot a wagon.
Yeah, the Avalanche. They're the heavy favorite right now, plus 130 to win. They are the best team in the NHL without question. If you look at the lineup on paper, they have so many studs. They're built to win. They failed last year to come through, and they're pissed off. They're ahead in a series with the Blues 3-1 right now, so they should wrap that one up. It's going to be Flames, or it's going to be either the Avs or the Lightning. They're going to bring the cup home. That's my opinion.
Avs or the Lightning. I like it. Are those and the Lightning are the second favorites?
Yes, they are.
So you're taking the 2,
Yeah, kind of square. I just don't see any. I don't see the Rangers doing it. I don't see Oilers is a good value play. Hurricanes, if they can win a game on the freaking road, we'll see tonight. They're at plus 475. Flames, they're down in the series. Honestly, Flames at plus 950 might not be a bad look. I don't know. I just don't see anyone stopping the Flames. I think the Lightning have too much experience to fumble this bag. So we'll see.
Trent's on them. So to wrap up, Krabs, who's a guy on Twitter. We met him through the baseball stuff. He's a great guy. Go follow him on Twitter. Krabs, do you know his Twitter? It's like Krabs_bet or something.
Yeah, Crab_bets.
Crab_bets. He's a good guy. He's given out a lot of MLB winners and just winners from the KBO, and he's giving out random winners. They're winning somewhere. I don't know what league they're in, but they're winning. He told me to ask you about the one-on-one between you and Lauren, and I don't even know really about the situation at all. That's what he just said. You have to ask Trent about the Lauren 1v1. I don't know who Lauren is. I assume one-on-one's basketball. Tell me the story.
Yeah, no, Lauren Cowling. She's one of our content creators here at Book It. You can go follow her on Twitter, Lauren Cowling. She's awesome. She's a vibe. And she was out here in Vegas for March Madness. And of course, we played a pickup game of 1v1. And she might have crossed me over, broke my ankles a couple times, and she took the dub. Sadly, it was pretty embarrassing.
Are you? Did you play any sports in high school, or were you maybe gambling more on the high school sports?
No, I was a big baseball guy. I was a catcher all of my baseball career. Yeah, I played for like 12 years.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
a bunch of baseball guys just talking gambling, talking shop, and none of it was gambling advice anyway, so it doesn't even matter. Thank you guys for joining. That's Trent. Trent, plug anything that you'd like because you have a ton of stuff that you do.
Of course, you can follow me on the social platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at BookitWithTrent. And then our Twitch streams come from at BookitSports on Twitch. You can follow us there.
Well, thanks so much, Trent. We'll definitely have you on another time.
Of course, brother. Thanks for having me.